So even though you've seen some members of the Democratic Party establishment come out to support Keith Ellison's bid to be the next DNC chair, by and large, it's very clear that the aggregate Democratic Party establishment, especially Democratic Party donors, do not want Keith Ellison to be the next DNC chair. And this is because they don't want a change of course. They don't want to turn away from liberal elites and actually cater to the working class. So they are vehemently fighting to stop Keith Ellison. Now, one of the ridiculous attempts to discredit him is that, well, he can't be the DNC chair because the last DNC chair, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, she wasn't successful specifically because she had to divide her time between being a member of the House of Representatives and being the DNC chair. Now, if you even know who Debbie Wasserman Schultz is, you know that that's preposterous. She was unsuccessful because she was a corrupt, greedy party insider that rigged the primary against the candidate that would have ultimately defeated Donald Trump. But they're trying to say that Keith Ellison, we have to have a full-time chair. You just can't be the chair, Keith. I'm really sorry. But here's Keith Ellison's response. According to The Hill, Representative Keith Ellison said Wednesday he'll resign from Congress if he's elected chairman of the Democratic National Committee, removing a major hurdle to his bid that was viewed as a deal breaker for many in the party. Checkmate, Democratic Party establishment. What's your response to this? Well, since he backed them into a corner, they are pulling out all the stops against Keith Ellison, and they're trying to smear him in the same way that the party establishment tried to smear Bernie Sanders during the primary, and it's really sickening. So The Intercept explains, the now ironically named Anti-Defamation League pronounced Ellison's 2010 comments about Israel deeply disturbing and disqualifying. Other Israel advocates have joined in. What are Ellison's terrible sins? He said in a 2010 speech that while he, quote, wanted the U.S. to be friends with Israel, the U.S. can't allow another country to treat us like we're their ATM. As the full speech makes clear, he was referring to the indisputable fact that while Israel continues to take billions of dollars every year from the U.S., far more than any other country receives in aid, it continually disregards and violates U.S. requests to stop ongoing expansion of illegal Israeli settlements. This smear campaign against Ellison received a major boost Friday night when the single largest funder of both the Democratic Party and the Hillary Clinton campaign, the Israeli-American billionaire Haim Saban, said at the Brookings Institution, a part of which he funds, quote, if you go back to his positions, his papers, his speeches, the way he has voted, he is clearly an anti-Semite, an anti-Israel individual. Saban added, Keith Ellison would be a disaster for the relationship between the Jewish community and the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party's central reliance on billionaire funders like Saban is a key reason that debates over Israel policy are not permitted within the party. It's why any attempt to raise such issues will prompt systematic campaigns of reputation destruction like the one we're witnessing with Ellison. So in other words, the donors to the Democratic Party, as well as the Democratic Party establishment, because it's them that are saying this too and using the same line of attack against Keith Ellison, they're not allowing anyone to have a reasonable position. They're not allowing anyone to be nuanced. And you can't speak out against the fact that taxpayer dollars are funding atrocities against Palestinians. Keith Ellison, of all people, he's definitely against Jewish people. He's definitely anti-Israel, even though it's the case that he put his whole career on the line to come out and endorse Bernie Sanders, the most successful Jewish candidate in American history. That person is an anti-Semite. It's just unbelievable. Now, there actually is a progressive case to be made against Keith Ellison, and this is because he does support a Syrian no-fly zone. Now, I vehemently disagree with him on this particular issue, but I do still support his bid to be the next DNC chair. Would he ever get my vote to be president in support of this policy? Absolutely not. But as DNC chair, what he would do is allow the party to implement a strategy that would lure voters back into the Democratic Party. And he has a really robust plan to do just that and to make the Democratic Party more reliant on voters and less reliant on donors, which is what they desperately need. And that's why people like Tulsi Gabbard have come out and endorsed Keith Ellison. It's why unions are coming out to endorse Keith Ellison. It's because he is an economic populist to the nth degree. He's just like Bernie Sanders when it comes to domestic policy. And for that reason alone, I think he is more than qualified to be the next DNC chair. So why aren't they using this line of attack against Keith Ellison, why aren't they saying, well, he's in favor of a Syrian no-fly zone. I thought you guys didn't want that. Well, the reason why they can't say that is because they're also in favor of it. So the only way that they can actually try to argue or make the case against Keith Ellison is to discredit him and smear him. The fact remains that Keith Ellison needs to be the next DNC chair, and if he's not, then the party will continue to lose to Republicans. And if members of the Democratic Party establishment, along with their donors, spend as much time attacking and smearing Republicans as they do to progressives, then maybe we'd be in a different place in this country right now.
Support this podcast by joining the independent progressive media revolution today at humanistreport.com.